being able to go live. Congrats on
Thank you,
1,000.
thank you, man. You know, it's been a long road. Yo, it's like I've been here since like before Thanksgiving. You know, um, and yeah, like November. I'm just like, yo, why is it taking me so long? But it is what it is.
It's random, man. Like I don't even know how I went viral the first time. It was just super random. Like half the time I look like trash, so I have no idea why people follow. But it's just random, man. Who knows?
Yeah, yeah, it is random. I'm not gonna front. And
There's like one video can make you go to like 20K like
yeah,
that. It's wild.
yes, yes, exactly. And part of me was thinking maybe it's like my content because it's all over the place, and
Yeah, yeah.
but it's like nope, no, it's not it. And because people have come to me, they're like, "You make good content. Why don't you have followers? We love your content. Like my followers, at least." Say
Yeah, yeah.
so. I'm just like, I don't know. It happens. Um,
Hey, Soraya.
yeah, I'm just getting messages on Discord right now, so I'm just hold on.
Yeah, I know you try to teach me about Discord and Twitch, and I was like, oh my god, I could barely handle all of these like apps. I'm like, I may not look it, but I definitely am like too old to be messing around with
I'm older than you,
some of these.
aren't I? I'm older than you.
I don't know.
No, I'm older than you.
That may be true. I don't know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
but
yeah. Unless do people know your age?
no, people don't really know my age.
Oh, okay, okay.
I tell people I'm in my mid 30s.
Oh, okay. So am I.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Cool, cool, cool. Um.
Hey, assalamualaikum, Mufti Yoda.
Oh, Mr. Yoda's on your side. All right. Awesome, awesome. Hey, Pally girl, what's up? Yeah. So I think I started that series, which I put a pause to. A lot of people like that series, but I put a pause to on who should be Miss Marvel's mentor. I think.
Mentor. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I think we both agreed that while Iron Man, Tony Stark is better than what's her face, Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel.
Cal Danvers. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They both, at the end of the day, are two white people. Tony Stark's a
Exactly.
rich white 1%er, 0.01%er who just
Right.
not understand. I'm sorry, is just not fit to mentor a young brown girl from New Jersey.
Exactly. And even Carol basically is like the epitome of like white feminism, right?
Yeah,
So there's no intersectionality there.
exactly.
So even that is like, oh, and then plus all the problematic stuff they do. But I do feel like Carol really phoned it in where Tony actually made an effort to get to know her, get to know her
Yeah,
family, try to help her. So there is like a human element there,
yeah,
but problematically they're both pretty like
yeah,
not great mentors.
exactly. Well, see, here's the thing with Tony because when Iron Man 1 first came out in movie theaters, Civil War 1 just ended in the comics, right? And Civil
Yeah,
War 1, Tony was kind of like a mentor to Spider-Man, right?
for Peter Parker. Yep.
Or Peter Parker. And I feel like he gets close to people, he develops these bonds with people in
Yeah.
order to manipulate them. He always has an ulterior motive to why he's being nice. So I'm sure
Yeah.
he did have a human element, but I feel like this
I do agree. I feel like he does have a human element, but he's always playing 3D chess with people, right? Like
yeah,
he knows what he's doing quite a few steps ahead, which is like apparent in Endgame because nobody knew he built a gauntlet into his own freaking suit,
yeah,
and nobody knew that until the very end of the movie, right?
mhm.
So it's one of those things where he always has these extra contingency plans.
Yeah, extra contingency plans, but and for fights that's fine, right? But to have extra contingency plans like, oh, I'm gonna get close to this person's family, know who this person is, so when I need to leverage their family against them, I'll do it. It's like, bro,
Yeah, yeah.
like what he did with Spider-Man, in Civil War 1, I'm just like, yo, that's unforgivable. It was too. I get like, I treat these people like they're real to me because I grew up with them. They are real to me.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Okay? And I feel like at one point I didn't want to watch Iron Man 1 in theaters because of Civil War 1.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I was mad. So that's why I guess like this is our preface in that while Tony Stark is better than Carol Danvers, Carol Danvers is messy as f. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
we could give better what do you call it, mentors, and I think I started it off with Josiah X, and
Right.
he's a black Muslim, and the reason I think it's good is because he's been out of comics for such a long time. They
Mm-hmm.
just introduced Bradley, Eli Bradley, and who's the other guy? Eli Bradley's the nephew. Who's the older Captain America from Falcon Winter Soldier?
Was it Elijah? No, wait, that's the other guy.
Uh,
Isaiah.
Isaiah, yes.
Isaiah.
They just introduced Elijah and Isaiah, so they could definitely introduce Josiah X,
Yeah.
the Imam, and like in the first series in Ms.Marvel, we've seen her interact with her Desi Masjid, right? Um,
Right. A lot. A lot. It's actually a big part of her storyline.
yeah, like at one point I remember because I actually read it in Barnes and Noble, like the Imam's actually giving a khutbah, right? So like,
Yeah.
I'm like, it's an opportunity for Marvel not to just to show brown Muslims, which is awesome. I think Sana Amanat and G. Willow Wilson do an
Yeah.
excellent job, but like, there's an opportunity, especially because of the MCU, to get Josiah X in and show how black Muslims and brown Muslims interact with one another. And it will be interesting to see a brown girl go
Yeah.
to a black masjid. Because most brown girls I know, Desi girls, who are like unmasked, who don't go to mosque because they don't have space for women, when they go to a black masjid,
Yeah.
they're like, I love it, right? Especially if
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm with masjid, right? So I would be interested in seeing that. And also what
I think that's one of the cool things because it does captures kills two birds with one stone, right?
yeah.
Because one of the things that Miss Marvel Comics is really good at doing is introducing Black Muslims with her sister-in-law, right, and her cousin-in-law, I guess would be her sister-in-law's brother,
Oh
right?
really?
And they show that there's reverts and there's Black Muslims in the comic and their relationship with them, and Kamala actually gets a lot of good advice from her sister-in-law, right?
Really?
And there is that element. So if and she goes to her imam quite a few. Even when she first kissed the boy, she didn't go to her parents. She didn't go to her brother sibling. She went to her imam, which is like I'm like wow. And he gave her like sound advice, right?
Yeah.
Didn't judge her. Wasn't any of like oh you're going to hell. None of that stuff, right? It was very sound advice, and he approached it with empathy and love. And I think they could do that same thing and make that character Isaiah. Was it Isaiah? No, not Isaiah. Their names are so similar. I keep forgetting all three of them. But
So Isaiah
they can definitely do that.
Isaiah's the grandfather. Eli is the grandson. He's patriarch.
Grandson.
And Josiah X is Eli's uncle, Isaiah's son, Josiah, Josia, who's the Muslim.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. From the top of my head.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
It gets a little confusing, but yeah, no, and I feel like they should do that. And Jersey City has a very predominant Black community,
Yeah.
so I could totally see them doing that, right? And they don't have to say it; they could just hint at it, right? It doesn't have to be like a big thing that the imam in Jersey City could be that, but I could definitely see her even going to Harlem and learning about stuff like that because I don't think she has gotten to college yet, right? She could go to college in New York, and Columbia is right by Harlem.
Yeah, and exactly. So I think it's just another interaction, and what will help. That's how it'll help her, and what will help with Josiah X is he's been out of comics for so long, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So just to bring him back, like the reason I'm picking the people I picked is one how they'll help Kamala, and two
Yeah.
how it'll help them, right? So
Right.
I believe you picked someone next to count like another.
So I picked Monica,
Yeah.
and Monica, it seems like such the obvious choice
Yeah.
because there's so many overlaps in so many different areas, right? Number one, like she's a Marvel, right? So she
Yeah.
has that connection to Carol Danvers. It's something that could actually be done on the show. Like I could see this actually being a full out storyline in the Marvels, right? Where Kamala has to pick between Carol Danvers and Monica and picks Monica, right? I could totally see that storyline happening. I could totally see it being an amazing commentary on intersectionality and being, of different skin color and not having those Eurocentric features and all that stuff about what she has to deal with in the comics. I think that would be really, really great. Something that could possibly really like happen. And like I really just think that Monica and Kamala just have more stuff in common. It just makes more sense to do it that way, right?
Yeah.
And then it gives like Kamala a chance to kind of reflect on like why did I put so much emphasis on Carol Danvers, right? Why did I think Ms.Marvel was this amazing person when she is a flawed character? She's done a lot of horrible stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. At some points, I think Carol Danvers. What happened in Civil War One? I'm still like bitter about it. I know it was like when did Civil War happen? 2005, right?
Yeah.
Um, I'm so like she took Spider Girl or Spider Woman's baby away, right? I was just like, yo, that's messed up. That's supposed to be your friend. But the reason I like Pulsar or Monica, she was the first Captain Marvel after
Exactly.
Marvel, right? She was the
Yeah.
like it went Captain Marvel, the alien, who was a guy, and then the second one was a woman. It was Monica Rambeau, a black woman, right? So I really think
Right.
it's on theme, and it honestly makes the most sense. And also, it also opens the door. And honestly, before you made that video, my second choice was Miss Marvel.
Yeah, Monica.
Monica, because it actually opens the door with her meeting Black Panther, because Monica and T'Challa are like very close friends, right? And
Exactly, yeah.
who's the new guy? Was it Blue Lightning? Blue Marvel.
Blue Marvel, yeah.
Yeah, who's he's an awesome character, by the way. So like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
door for her to meet other cool characters, and she already has a little thing going on with Miles.
Miles, yeah.
Are they
I really like the whole her and Miles thing, and I do feel like it's a little bit more one sided. I feel like it's a little stronger on Miles' side than it is on Kamala's, and I feel like there's a lot of potential there. I feel like it could be a really great story. That's the only thing that I feel like a lot of people have an issue with Miss Marvel is the Daisy girl with the white boyfriend
yeah,
stereotype, right? It's
yeah,
it's everywhere, right? It's unavoidable, and it's not my favorite thing about the comic, but it is. There is a difference in power dynamic
yeah.
in it, right? Because she's a superhero and he's kind of like the little sidekick and whatnot, and she's the one that's always turning him down. And he wants to integrate into her family, right? He like
Yeah.
they show uh like bubbles of their future, and like he has
Yeah.
a Sherwani on, and he has like he's like into the culture. He's not trying to take her from
By the way,
her culture. He's trying to embrace the
yeah.
Pakistani culture instead.
I just want to know, Pally Girl in my comments just said, it's also everywhere in real life, that trope. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean it's everywhere. It's
um,
everywhere. In Have You Never Ever, the Mindy
yeah,
Kaling show, that's a great example where they had this amazing Muslim character who shows up, high school. She's super cool. She's not nerdy. She's not corny. Like her religion is not thrown into her face and made her feel bad about it. And then all of a sudden, she gets like a white boyfriend, and she's like a one-dimensional character. All she is the girlfriend to this white guy, right? And that's it. She's used to further his storyline on
yeah,
like getting past the other girl, right? And that's
yeah.
the only thing she's worth. And they have such a cool character, and they're like, all right, we're done. We threw it away, and now we're doing this. And the interesting thing is, if you go back and check who directed the episodes where she's so awesome and so cool, it's a woman of color. Who directed the episodes where she becomes with one-dimensional character? White men.
Which show was this? I'm sorry. Which show was it?
Never Have I Ever. It's on Netflix. It's
Oh, no.
the show by Mindy Kaling.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, see, and then you could almost see what what's written by a white guy and what's written by other people, right?
Yeah.
You can see what's written by white women, white guys, and then BIPOC, right? And that's why I think we just need more. Yeah, we need more representation on screen and on the picture, but also
Behind the scenes,
behind the scenes,
right?
right?
The writers, the producers, the
Yeah,
editors,
especially
everybody.
producers, because producers are like, oh, this is not going to sell. But I'm glad.
Yeah.
I didn't know if Miles, like, it's hard to tell if Miles Morales and Kamala are in a relationship because I don't like follow teenage Marvel heroes that much, right? But I will say that because she already has kind of little bond with Miles, I think
Yeah.
another mentor for her, which was gonna be part of my video series, but I decided no, we're gonna pause everything. I'm gonna do this with Neebs. Is Peter.
Yeah.
Peter Parker,
That's a solid choice. That's a
yeah,
lot of people's choice.
yeah,
Yeah.
because Peter Parker is the original. Spider-Man is the original teenage superhero. You will not find
Yep.
a teenage superhero before Peter Parker, period. And he
Yeah. Yeah.
when he was a teenager, a young superhero, he was advising other young superheroes because he was the first young superhero, right? So even if
Yeah.
he had only 2 years more experience, he was still advising everybody. And then not just that, when he taught at the Jean Grey School of Higher Learning, when Wolverine and Cyclops had that split, and Wolverine went
Yeah.
to school and he started Jean Grey School, Spider-Man was a teacher there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when the Phoenix Force, that whole Avengers versus X-Men happened, Hope Summers, the mutant messiah, she hated all her, what do you call it? Mentors, right? They were trying to train her. She's like, I hate you, Captain America.
Yeah. Yeah.
Body. And then Spider-Man comes, and Spider-Man is, all goofy, Peter Parker.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
She's like, what are you going to teach me? And then he's like, well, I don't got anything, blah, blah. And then he's just like, with great power comes great responsibility, right?
Great responsibility.
I think, like,
Right.
iconic line in comic books. And she just freezes up, and then she's like, what else do you got to teach me? Wait, should I get a spider suit? Like, it was such a unique thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Spider-Man, he started off as a teenage superhero, and now
Yeah.
mentoring other teenage superheroes, right?
Yep.
I think Kamala will get help with that. Yes, Peter Parker was the youth pastor of the X-Men. That's exactly what he
Basically, yeah.
and and then not just that, Peter Parker recently, you know, like I don't know how to say this without sounding like one of those self-help male coaches, right? He's been he's like he has no life goals. Okay?
Yeah.
He's like he got brain controlled by Dr. Octopus, and then
Right.
Doctor Octopus actually made his company and set him up, and all.
Yeah, like Peter doesn't have ambition, right? He doesn't have ambition to
Yeah.
do some of this stuff, and he's kind of just like coasting by the seat of his pants.
Yeah.
And like I think Doctor Octopus says in Spider-Man 2, Peter, you're brilliant, but you're lazy, right?
Yeah.
And it's one of the things that like always goes back, and that's really what Peter is, like because he just focuses on like helping the little guy. That's all he really cares about, right?
But see, here's the thing. Early Spider-Man comics, you see him try hard. He tries to get a job, but because he has to save someone, he's late and loses his job. He this, but because he has responsibilities, and I'm gonna tear up because I love old Peter Parker, right? Like back in the day, like no matter what happened, he would always do the right thing. Like it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Everything. Nowadays, I hate Peter Parker because he's not losing job or life opportunities because of his responsibilities. His whole thing was, I have responsibilities. I'm trying to balance them. Nowadays, he's sleeping on Mockingbird's couch, and he's a bum, right? He's a bum.
Yeah.
Nowadays, he's not acting responsibly. He's acting like one of those 25-year-old Gen Z dudes who, read a bunch of self-help books and go say they're alphas but don't have jobs, right? He's literally being
like the Gary V troop.
Yes, that is what he's being, right? And it's just like, bro, you're not doing anything. You're just here, and you have no life goals, right? Back in the day, he had life goals, but he kept failing at them because he had to practice responsibility. He's not practicing responsibility anymore, and that's why I think to make him, and I think the authors are making him to be a lazy bum. So, which he never was. He never was a lazy bum. He just had to prioritize other things. Nowadays, he's sleeping on Mockingbird's couch. He's homeless. He's taking advantage of friends. He is the most toxic male to ever exist.
Yeah.
So I'm saying...
Yeah. It's one of those things, I've seen it in media too, right? And it's like they're trying to go away from the wholesome hero, and they're trying to make these superheroes have these like bad habits or bad vices to make them feel more complex. You can have positive characters with and make them complex. You're being lazy if you're trying to. It's just lazy writing when you do that. And I totally agree. I see like a whole thing where like all these superheroes were super like positive and super like good influence and stuff like that, but like they're boring. Same thing with Superman, right? Superman, it was the most like positive influence in a cynical world. And we were like, oh, you know what? that's boring. Now let's make Superman brooding and angry and
Yeah,
like, like
stupid.
evil and have him turn. And everyone's like, and then this new show came out, Superman and Lois with Tyler Hoechlin,
Oh,
and they're like going back to the more wholesome, positive Superman. And everyone's like, oh my God, this is a breath of fresh air. I remember when Christopher Reeves was like this, right?
yeah,
And I feel like it does cycle a little bit, right? Like people go into these toxic stuff, and that gets boring, and then they go back to the wholesome stuff.
yeah.
So it goes back and forth.
That's what I'm saying, and that's why I think the reason I went on this parade was that I think if he becomes like a mentor to one superhero, which is Miss
Yeah,
Marvel, it'll help her because he's the original teenage superhero, but it'll also help him get like his life in order and have a goal and have a mission.
yeah, yeah,
Because right now,
yeah,
after he lost his company, bro, he's couch surfing all his friends. Like, I love my friends; they can couch surf anytime they want. But after 3 days, they need to let me know, like, okay, what's your plan in life, right?
yeah, yeah.
So
It's a good choice because all the mistakes that anyone could make as a teenage superhero, Peter already made,
yeah,
right?
people don't realize Spider-Man, Peter Parker is the reason Silver Age of comics ended, right?
Yeah,
When Gwen Stacy died, which is 100% his
yeah,
fault. Um,
yeah, yeah. Still,
yeah,
one of my followers is saying that Peter's too young. So we're not talking about Peter Parker in the MCU. We're talking about
yeah,
like old school Peter Parker, the
yeah,
older one who's been in college,
yeah.
who's gotten a job,
Mhm.
and like you probably have not seen a good interpretation of him in TV yet. I think like all the cartoons, he's either young, and the only one where he's older is probably like Into the Spider Verse, right? And
Yeah,
that's a whole different take.
yeah,
So you probably haven't seen the version of Spider-Man that we're kind of talking about
yeah.
on
We're talking
TV
about
yet.
comics. We're talking about comics, right? Um,
Yeah, yeah,
and Into this right now, he is the Into the Spider-Verse Peter B. Parker, but that guy was
yeah,
from depression. The current Peter Parker is like that old Gen Z, young millennial, lazy bum who
yeah, yeah.
get married, right? He's like the Muslim
Yep.
guy who wants to marry 4 girls but can't get one. That's exactly what he is right now. Like, bro, uh, um, yeah.
All right. So my next one
Your next one.
is probably one you probably haven't thought of,
Uh huh.
and I think this superhero does one of the best jobs at taking their religion and their superhero responsibilities and integrating them together and have one affect the other positively,
Yeah.
and that is Nightcrawler. I
That,
think Nightcrawler
that,
does such a good job.
okay.
What was that? Was that one of yours?
That was literally the one after you finished. That was gonna be mine.
Yeah. Oh no, I think Nightcrawler is does such a good job. If you see some of the stuff that he does in the cartoons, like I've seen so many episodes where like when people lose all faith and then he turns to his religion, and it is such a strength of power for him. And I feel like that's something that like Kamala could definitely take in, right? Because she's always struggling with like stuff she has to do in her life, stuff as a superhero and being a good Muslim, right? And I think Kurt, who's been dealt a really bad hand,
Oh
right,
my
which is
god, yeah.
deformity and what he looks like and what he's been through
Great.
and how he was treated.
Yeah.
Like he's got the best hand, but he still loves God. He still loves his religion. He still that's like one of his biggest source of strength. No matter how bad things get, he'll pick up the Bible and read through it and find inspiration from it and motivation from it, right? And if they show like Kamala doing that at any point, like that'd be so inspirational for like
Yeah.
young Muslim kids to read. Like it would be amazing.
Amazing, yeah. Especially Nightcrawler, because X Men is all about race, right? Civil rights movement.
Absolutely.
Especially after Chris Claremont took over. And Nightcrawler, he's not a mutant like Iceman or Jean Grey, who's pretty
Right.
white and could pretty much blend into society. He looks like a
Right.
devil, right? And
Right.
he suffers so much racism, colorism, everything, right? Every ism,
Everything.
like
Yeah.
he's been through, right? So I feel like it's good for her because I'm sure they're gonna delve more into racism and how she deals with that and stuff, right?
Yeah.
But my question is, the reason I was hesitant to put him on the list, even though he was my next one, is how does that help him though, right? Because he's been a mentor in the X-Men. He's been a team leader with Archangel, right? So
Yeah.
I just don't know how it's gonna help him. Otherwise, I feel like the only way it's gonna help him is if he has a, which I doubt, if he has a crisis of faith and like she has to
Yeah,
get back his Catholic faith. Like I don't.
I could totally see that. I could totally see Nightcrawler learning more about Islam and finding the similarities between the two
Yeah.
religions and finding some of the stuff that's happened in history, like even not even religious stuff, but like historical stuff that's happened, right? And taking those things and seeing how people were treated and slaves were treated and
Yeah.
all of this stuff that's happened, and take solace in that and take solace in like a lot of the religious takeaways from that. I definitely think like them sharing their religion, regardless of whether it's mentorship or menteeship, it'll help each other. They will
Okay.
definitely help each other in a way. I definitely feel that way, and I see that all the time with my friends. Right? I have friends who are Christian. I have friends who are Jewish. I have friends who are Hindu. And whenever we talk about this stuff and share these kind of things, we just learn so much and open our eyes to what the world has to offer.
Okay. Yeah, I see that. Okay. I can see that. And Nightcrawler was literally my next one.
Yeah, yeah.
But do you have another one?
All right. So another one that I have that I think is really good is someone. So on the fact that like you wanted somebody who's going to get the most out of it, right? Kind of
Yeah.
like Josiah, right?
Yeah.
I think Goliath would be a good one,
Oh
and
wow.
he's someone that.
Wait, off. Okay.
So
Yeah.
he's someone that like no one, like barely anyone's heard of, and like basically like he doesn't get a lot of clout,
I'm
and
sorry. Is he
like
alive?
one of the what was that?
Is he alive in the comics? Because he died in Civil War One. Is he still alive in
He
the?
died in Civil War One, but I'm talking about in general, right? It could
Oh, okay.
happen in the movies. It could happen anywhere.
Yeah.
And one of Miss Marvel's like biggest power is that she can grow,
Yeah.
right? And something that she hasn't really used in much of stuff. She gets smaller. She uses her big power, but she can also just get huge inside.
Yeah.
And I think Goliath would be a great person to kind of do that. Number one, being a black man just like Josiah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that stuff, turns over. Him not being as popular of a character, another thing that could help him out. And then the other thing is like him being a mentor would definitely help him in terms of like the other stuff he's dealing with. I know he deals with depression and all of that stuff. I think it would be great for him to have some kind of mentee to kind of help. And like there are things that like Kamala can do with her power that she hasn't even discovered yet, right? There's so many things you can do by getting like big, like Ant-Man and stuff like that. And I think that would be great for her.
Yeah. And he's a doctor, so her parents will definitely approve of him.
Exactly, right?
Right. I'm thinking the reason I'm smiling is because I haven't watched Ant-Man and the Wasp. Right. But someone told me, what's his name? Lawrence Fishburne plays Goliath.
Goliath. Yep.
He plays
And
Goliath.
he's so good at it.
I would love to see like I forget who they have for Ms.Marvel for Kamala, but I'd love to see a Muslim girl interact with Lawrence Fishburne. At that point, I don't
Yeah.
like that's Morpheus, and like I want a Muslim talking to Morpheus, right?
It would be so good.
Yeah,
It's really good. And the thing is, like, the other thing is, you brought up, like, how he's, like, a professor and a doctor and stuff like that. We don't know yet what Kamala's, like, job ambitions are, right? We know Peter Parker wants to go into science and he wants to be a newspaper person. Like, what does Kamala want to be when she grows up, right? We still don't know that yet. And like for her to like maybe she wants to be a doctor, maybe she wants to go into science, maybe she wants to go into physics, right? I think in that aspect, she would be great. Like she could find out whether she wants to do that kind of stuff because she doesn't know what she wants to do after high school.
that's true. And I think if I'm not mistaken, I just looked it up real fast. Bill Foster, who's the original guy, his nephew is an MIT student, right? So
Yeah.
also interesting that she gets like, what do I want to do? So that's cool. My next one, we have a lot of black superheroes. So my next one is another black superhero, and it's kind of like the same reason Nightcrawler, but Cloak from Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah.
The reason is because Cloak and Dagger is very Catholic centered. Like Catholicism plays a huge role in Cloak's, life. And when they were, I think, the second teenage superheroes, right? Spider-Man was first, and then it was Cloak and Dagger, right? And Cloak and Dagger, I love Cloak and Dagger, right? I didn't like the first season of the show, but I love the second season of the show. So sad that they're not going to get a third season. But Cloak, he's Catholic, so that whole Catholic-Muslim interaction would be amazing. And when his base of operations was, what do you call it? A church, right? Whenever they had to hide house, he would go to church. And by the way, Civil War One, I will die on this hill. In Civil War One, he was MVP for Captain America's team. Heck, he was MVP
Yeah.
for the whole thing. At the last fight, when they're in the negative zone, and Iron Man has everything shut off, and everyone's gonna be trapped in the negative zone, that man teleported everybody out into the skies of New York. Okay, nah, he's MVP. And
Yeah.
the thing is,
So speaking of Catholicism,
yeah.
someone is talking about Matt Murdock, and they're mentioning him. What do you think about him?
So
Tell me why you picked Cloak instead of Matt Murdock for
I
Catholicism.
was
Because they're both pretty much the same, and they're both religion is definitely important for both of them.
Oh, there's a reason why. I'll get to that. When I say what she'll do for him. Because the thing is, when I was picking my list, it's what they'll do for her and what she'll do for them, right? So for like Goliath and for Goliath, she could get him back in comics, right? Daredevil is a level hero. He's a street level hero. I'm sorry, Kamala is destined to be Avengers level, right? And they both, Matt Murdock and Cloak, whenever they had issues, just like Kamala goes for an imam, whenever Matt Murdock and Cloak had issues, they'll go to their priest. So I would love to see Cloak's, like, if Kamala asks him a question, Cloak actually says, my priest told me this, right? And she'll be like, Mom told me this, and that interaction, right? So I think he'll be good for her. And they've also taught a lot of being the second teenage superheroes after Spider-Man. They've also helped, they've helped the Runaways, right? Which is an awesome teenage superhero group, right? So I don't think Matt Murdock, I think the only teenage superhero he had to deal with was Spider-Man. And I don't think, I think there was he loved Spider-Man, but he was annoyed. Like, Spider-Man knows everyone.
He doesn't have the temperament. He's always dealing with his own demons, right? Yeah. And his relationship with his religion isn't as positive, right? He struggles back and forth a little bit.
Yes, he has a very negative, not negative in a bad sense, but he has that guilt factor, like anything.
Yes.
Cloak, he's guided by his religion, while Matt Murdock is like, how can this happen? Why did God do this to me? And then he has to learn that God loves him, right? But we did have female mentors, Pally Girl. We said Monica Rambeau and someone else. But let me just finish off with Cloak. What she'll do for Cloak is, the thing is, right now, currently in comics, and as much as I love Cloak and Dagger, and I wish they were a couple, they were not a couple, but it is the weirdest, I'm saying Cloak, the weirdest codependent, what do you call it, relationship I've ever seen. Because she has to light into him for him to stay healthy and not become a killer. And so he's the last comic book they have. He's living in her house, in her apartment. She doesn't like him. Like in the beginning of the comic series, the newest series that they had, she hated him, but now she's back to being friends with him. And he's living with her, but she's dating someone else, right? And every morning, she makes her coffee. It ends with every morning she makes her coffee, shoots light at him so he doesn't become evil, and she leaves, right, with her boyfriend. And I'm like, that's such a sad scene. Like, a black man, a black character, one of the oldest black characters in comics, have that shitty of a, what do you call it, story, right? I think that way he's completely codependent on this white girl. And I love Dagger, don't get me wrong. I feel like maybe he could overcome the darkness by learning another religion from Kamala. Not become that religion, just learning another religion.
Sure.
Also overcome the darkness by mentoring this teenage girl. He never had a mentor. He had Father Elgato, but Father Elgato wasn't a mentor. He was the guy who advised him, but he never had a superhero mentor, right? He could be something for Kamala that he didn't have, and hopefully, by being a mentor, he breaks that horrible codependent bond he has with Dagger, right? And Dagger, you know what? If she doesn't like him, she should be able to have a boyfriend or a husband and not have this weird dude who's wearing a cloak all the time in her apartment. So it helps her, right? Like, let's just be honest.
Right.
Hey, Vintage. Hey, Frey. We're talking about comic books. We're talking about people who can mentor the most popular Muslim superhero, Kamala Khan. Go ahead. Who's your next? By the way,
So
that
somebody
book.
mentioned we were not showing enough women, so I wanted to add another
Okay.
girl in here, and that would be Shuri from what you call it, Black Panther, right? I think
Okay.
she would be a solid pick, and I think one of the things that like we want to see more Kamala of is see how smart she is, right?
Yeah.
She's a straight A student. We know she can do her work, but where is that being applied, right? And I definitely want to see her interact with Shuri and learn more about her involvement with technology, how much she loves technology, see how smart she is, see her want to learn stuff. The other thing I would be interested in seeing is, do they have Muslims in Wakanda, right? Like I would want to see Shuri talk about,
Yeah.
are there Muslims in Wakanda, right? And like how do the Muslims in Wakanda deal with stuff? Since Wakanda is the only country that didn't have colonialism and all of that stuff happen, I wonder how the Muslims in Wakanda have like what kind of views they have based on
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
And like as a Wakandan and a Muslim, and you have to fight for your brothers and the whole concept of jihad and stuff like that. Being an isolationist country, how do they feel about that? I think there's so much that could be explored with the Shuri and Ms.Marvel Kamala Khan team up. I think that'll be, and there's already a lot of Wakanda references in the comics because what's his name, the white boy that she likes goes to Wakanda to study engineering and stuff like that, and I can definitely see that happening.
Yeah, I could see that, and I could also see like it would be interesting because like a lot of the characters we mentioned were Catholic, and she's Muslim, right? And like Shuri is a follower of Ba'ath. I don't know how else to say it, right? Whatever the Wakandan religion.
Yeah,
So I think it's
yeah,
awesome to see how, and both Catholicism and Islam are monotheistic religions, right? It'll be interesting to see
yeah.
her having what do you call it? A non-monotheist, a polytheist religious what do you call it? Mentor. And keep in mind, all of Wakanda, Shuri and her brother T'Challa, are very highly informed by their religions, right? So
Right.
so like more so than Cloak and Matt Murdock. So that'll be interesting. And I think also it'll help Shuri come back to comics because I haven't seen Shuri in a long time. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So that's good.
I
That's good.
think that's going to change with what's going to happen with Wakanda Forever. I feel like she's going to start to become a super more popular character again. I
Yeah.
mean, if she's not already.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I remember when she
Especially with
first.
Riri Williams coming out, right? I think someone mentioned in the comments Riri Williams is going to be Ironheart, and that's going to involve Shuri somehow, I believe. So
Oh,
that's going to be
okay.
interesting.
Oh, so they're making. Yeah, you know what? That actually makes more sense. Really, Williams with Shuri, because I never understood why are you giving Iron Man Riri Williams, right? It makes no.
Yeah, yeah.
So my next one, Pally Girl, thanks for putting that up. My next one is gonna be Storm, because we're talking about people
Mm,
who are highly informed by the religion. Josiah X, um, Black Panther, Shuri, or T'Challa, Cloak, Matt Murdock, but Storm in Wakanda, a lot of people don't know this. A lot of people who are not familiar, who are only familiar with MCU and not familiar with the comics, Storm is more than a mutant. In Wakanda, she's not just their queen; she is worshipped as a god,
she
right?
the god. Yep,
So she's a
yep.
god, right? So like, I would love to see. I think there's an amazing storyline where this Muslim girl, being a monotheist is like, Allah, and then this chick is like, I'm God, right? And it's not like
It reminds me of the Avengers 1, right? Where they basically call Thor a god, and Captain America looks at him and goes, "There's only one god, man," and he doesn't dress like that, and he jumps off the plane. So
yeah,
it's definitely, I can see that kind of interaction happening between those two. That's
yeah.
really funny.
Exactly, and I feel like with Storm, they like Pally's girl's making a good point. She never gets the attention she deserves. People forget that she was the leader of the X-Men. She beat Cyclops
Yes.
in a fight without powers, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
being leader of the X-Men, it was always the point men or point women of the X-Men. The point leaders were Cyclops and Storm. Storm has
Yep.
like disappeared, and like yeah, she's in Wakanda, but then they ruined that marriage for like no reason, just because Marvel wants to make her keep coming back to freaking the X Men. And I feel like I'm gonna hate on Professor X a little bit, right? Black woman
Yeah.
who is super powerful, revered as a god in her country, can do so much, and as a white guy, he's like, you know what? You're not actually that powerful. Come to me. I'll save you. Teach at my school, right? I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
not him. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that, right? So I feel like Storm. I hopefully, Storm mentoring a non-mutant, because she Kamala Khan is technically an inhuman. She's
Inhuman.
right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Storm mentoring her, I think it could help her develop as a character where like she's mentoring someone outside of the Xavier school, and she's having
Yeah.
with someone that's not Wakandan or not African, and hopefully grow into being a character that defines herself, isn't defined by Wakanda and isn't defined by Professor Xavier, right? Um,
Yep.
and she could Storm should be the ruler of something. Like, and maybe she finds that out by mentoring this girl, right?
The thing is, like, Storm was also on my list,
Yeah,
and for different reasons. For I think that out of all the people we mentioned, I think Storm is a leader, right? She is one of the few people who's literally leading a team, and I think you said it already.
yeah,
And I would love to see Kamala, like, be mentored by like a someone who can lead not just a team, but like politically, like she leads a country, right? What an amazing thing to see for somebody who is Muslim and Pakistani, to see somebody lead a country and then like think about how it affects Pakistan back home, right? I think that would be an amazing story to see, like, oh, look how they treat their citizens, and like I wish this would happen in this country, and just like a lot of political stuff, and like how nationalism can be bad and how this can be bad for a country. I feel like Storm would be so good at like mentoring Kamala. At that, maybe Kamala could be president, right? We don't know her future.
we don't
Maybe
know.
she wants to run for the president.
But that oh, you finished? My next one's gonna be super controversial, and I think every Palestinian in the audience is gonna hate me. So just like finish what you gotta say. Um,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
the next one, and if you're Palestinian, I'm so sorry. I love you all. I know my kids are half Palestinian. Got nothing but love for y'all. But Kitty Pryde, she's a Jewish, and we've been talking about polytheists and Muslim, monotheists and Muslims like Catholics, but Jewish and Muslim. Like Kitty, and not just that, Kitty Pryde has trained with, the IDF. She knows Krav Maga, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And she is. I cannot remember a Jewish superhero before her.
I mean, Magneto is Jewish, right?
Oh, Magneto! Yeah, how do I forget Magneto? Yo,
Yeah, yeah.
so Magneto, yeah, but I feel like Magneto is a different type of Jewish than like Kitty Pryde. I feel like Kitty Pryde is definitely more of like a Zionist type of Jewish person, right? So I think
Okay.
he being mentor to Kamala, who's a Muslim, I think there's so much, what do you call it? Storytelling potential there.
Yeah.
Right? And the reason I mentioned Kitty Pryde is because they want more women. So I'm like, okay, I'll give you more women. Because I think Magneto will make an excellent mentor also at being a
Yeah.
Muslim girl. But if you want but Kitty Pryde, like, she's straight up, she knows Krav Maga. I think somewhere she's from the IDF. I don't know. I'm going to have to look that up. Right? So I think, and Kitty Pryde, right now, what's happening with her in the X-Men, I can't explain it, but I think they're just giving her bad stories. And at one point, she was the youngest X-Men, right? She had Spider.
Yeah, she was like Jubilee and her. Yeah, it's like
She was the youngest X-Men, so she could be another mentor to Kamala Khan because it's like a legacy thing, right? I was a teenage hero. You're the next teenage superhero. Pally girl, what do you think about Kitty Pryde? I just want to know about everything I said because you're, being Palestinian. But go ahead, Neebz.
Yeah, Kitty Pryde is probably not on the top of my list.
Yeah.
But you know who else would be in the top of my list, and I don't know if they're canonically Jewish. I don't think they are, but would be Scarlet Witch, and not the Scarlet Witch we see in the MCU, but the actual Romani version of Scarlet Witch, right?
Yeah.
And I think that would be really cool because Romani people are actually descendants of like people from Pakistan and India.
Yeah.
And a lot of their culture is still very, very much the same as our culture. I've watched a show where they talk about like there was a Romani wedding and stuff like that. And there's so many things that they do in their culture exactly the same as our culture. It's so funny. And then when I looked it up, it's because Romani people are actually descendants of like Indians and from Pakistani that traveled all the way up to Europe. And they experienced the same type of racism. They experienced all of this stuff. And then they also were, what you call it, in the Holocaust, right? All of that stuff that happened and the stuff that's happening to Palestinians today, they experienced it just like the Jews did. And she's also the most powerful superhero in the world, right? She's like the strongest Avenger.
Yeah.
So I think that would be an amazing collaboration with Kamala Khan. And the other thing is, like in Islam, like magic and all that stuff is kind of weird. And I would love to see Kamala's interaction with like witches and like jinns and
Yeah.
all of that stuff, right? And kind of like put it together and be like, oh, you call them witches, we call them jinns, right? It could be
Yeah.
like so much crazy stuff that you can do. And the fact that like Scarlet Witch was an Avenger and then she comes from this background, I think would be an amazing storyline if they do like not the MCU version, but the original like Romani version.
Yeah. And I think she also has issues. I think she's had a lot of mental health issues, right?
Yeah.
In the comics and in the show. I think the whole show was about depression, right?
Yeah.
She has multiple mental breakdowns in the comics, right? So I think here is like you have where Kamala could help her is like being a mentor to somebody is something positive for you to like get over whatever trauma you have, because you have this trauma. You don't want other people to go through it. I think it will be a sweet storyline to have Scarlet Witch go through that. My next one on the list, and it's kind of obvious. I just want to give a shout out to Pally Girl. She's saying Quake. I am not familiar with Quake a lot.
Oh, so okay. So Quake is from Agents of Shield.
I know,
and she's an Inhuman, and she would be a great pick. I agree with that. I think Quake would be amazing because she is also someone who starts off really young, learns to use her powers, and she's an Inhuman just like Kamala Khan.
Yeah.
And if there's any Inhuman, she would be my top Inhuman pick
Yeah.
to be a mentor to Kamala Khan. Like, she's not part of the whole royal family and everything.
Yeah.
She's an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. She does, her powers are really, really cool. And she's also in, I believe, the cartoon that's on Disney Plus, Marvel's Rising. And I think she is a mentor to Kamala Khan in that show.
Oh, okay. See, me, I know what's her name. I know Quake from Marvel, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I've read very little comics about her. In the comics I've read, she's part of the Howling Commandos with Nick Fury, and she's already like a badass, right?
Yeah.
I don't know much about her personality, dude.
Yeah, she's in the new cartoon that's on Disney Plus, and it's basically Marvel Rising is like a bunch of young superheroes, which include like Squirrel Girl, Kamala Khan, what's the name, America Chavez, like all of these young superheroes, right? Yeah. And then they work with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and the main two people they work with, who are kind of like their mentors, but also like S.H.I.E.L.D. like liaisons, is Captain America, the Falcon version, and then Daisy Johnson. Those are the two people that are like kind of their mentors. They're kind of like their Nick Fury.
Okay, so my next one, I just put her on the list because a lot of the fans were like, what about females? I just put her on the list. It's not going to be like an adult mentor, but more like an older sister mentor.
I feel like we're more female than male right now at this point. I think we're like, but I hope people are happy.
Yeah, it's Dust, because Dust is a completely different Muslim than Kamala. Right? Kamala doesn't wear hijab and wears jeans, and Dust,
I was gonna pick that.
Always see her wearing niqab, hijab, black bab, the whole 10, and Dust has been trained by some of the greatest X-Men there are. She's super powerful, right?
Yeah.
Dust had the chance to literally kill so many people, and she just doesn't. And she has experienced racism as being a niqabi. She has experienced bigotry being a niqabi, being Muslim, being Afghani in post 9/11 world, because she was introduced in 2000. And she was, what do you call it? And she's a mutant. She's a mutant. She was in, and what's interesting, when the schism happened between Cyclops and Wolverine, she joined Wolverine and then went to Cyclops, right? So, like, Dust as an older sister type mentor, I think is amazing, because even religiously, she's the complete opposite, right? Where even a white guy did like her, she didn't kiss him or anything. She's legit had her boundaries up. His name was Icarus. He's the guy with red wings. He was canon.
Yep, with the wings, yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say that because I think if there is one person that can relate to having boy problems as a Muslim, that would be Dust, right? Like, it would be on brand for them to do that. And it would be such a great great story. And the thing is, I also think like, you know, there is a level of discrimination, and like I feel like there is the discrimination a Nagabi person would get, and then her being a mutant, and whereas Kamala Khan is an inhuman
Yeah.
and doesn't wear a hijab or a burqa, like it's that same level, right? Because like mutants are like considered worse than inhuman,
Yeah.
or not worse. I would say they're more discriminated than what you call it, non-mutants. And then same thing with the hijab, right? The women who wear hijab and wear niqab have it harder and are discriminated more than Pakistani
They're
women
more
who
visible.
don't have it. It's the same parallel.
Yeah, they're a lot more visible. And with Dust, like with the whole boy thing, she never kissed Icarus. She had completely boundaries up. It was to a point where the writers confirmed that if they weren't gonna kill him, he was gonna convert because he was actually interested in Islam, right? And
Yeah, yeah.
Dust also, yeah, that's a good point. Pally girl, Kamala grew up in America. Dust grew up in Afghanistan, and
Yep.
Dust's own mother said that it's good that you're in a country now that doesn't force it on you and you've chosen it for yourself, right? She had that conversation
Yep.
with her mother. And Dust, whenever she goes to battle, I remember I have this picture in one of my videos where she's like, if today's the day I die, may Allah make it a good death. Like, she doesn't care. She will
Yeah.
fight and do the right thing. So, and she also told X-23 is a clone, and she's like, why do
Of Wolverine, yeah.
and she has a crisis of faith, right? X-23 being Wolverine's daughter.
Clone.
No,
Yeah, clone daughter.
this is her daughter. It's his daughter.
Okay, okay.
Most recent comics, what happened was she's not a clone. Half her DNA is Sarah McKenzie's, right?
Okay.
So Sarah McKenzie wasn't just what do you call it? A surrogate mother. It
Surrogate?
was actually
Yeah.
logically her mother. So technically, that is his daughter now. They've officially made it his daughter. So the thing is, when she was going through her crisis of faith and moral crises, it was Dust, right? So a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people question about evil and like, why do bad things happen, this and that? Why does this happen to me? Like the way Dust responds, it comes different from someone who's around your age compared to someone
Yep.
like an imam, right? A 50,
You know what it is?
uh,
It's like first world problem versus real problems,
yeah,
right? And it's a little bit like right in your face.
yeah, exactly. And it's just different from coming from a person closer in age with you.
Yeah.
So who's your next?
Dust was definitely up there.
Yeah.
Another person I thought would be really, really good would be Wasp, right? Wasp, I thought would be a good person. And then she's, has dealt with a lot of things, right? Like there's like her husband is bipolar and his Hank Pym and there's
Yeah.
all the stuff that's going on. And like, it's one of those things where like women in brown societies, there are men that are abusive. There are men that are like that,
Yeah.
right? That do these things. I thought that would be a good parallel
Yeah.
to Kamala Khan's story. Also, Wasp shrinks. Kamala Khan shrinks, right?
Yeah.
How to use your powers, how to best do that, how to navigate when you're small. Like, how to use your strength when you're small. Like, I think those things are good. And then she's also very smart, right? Get her into like same thing. I think it's been like a reoccurring thing where we're talking about like, let's use Kamala's smartness in a comic because they don't seem to focus on that, right? And the thing is, like, which Wasp would it be, right? Would it be Hope or would it be Janet Van Dyne? I would think like Hope, right, would probably be mine.
Yeah.
I just feel like because closer in age and stuff like that. But I think Wasp would be a good one.
I think the reason I'll go with Janet is because Hank Pym was her husband, and Hank Pym is known as the wife beater, right? In comics.
Yeah.
Wait,
In the comics, yeah.
does Hope exist? Hope Van Dyne. Does the Wasp Hope exist in the comics?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know
I
that.
believe so.
I thought it was a straight up. Okay, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Because she's a survivor,
Yeah.
Janet Van Dyne. I think those like, and I don't think we always put a lot of focus on Hank Pym and how he's healing and how he's going through mental health crisis and how he deals with his mental health crisis because he's been
Yep.
a theater and he's trying to fix himself. He's in therapy and he's going through depression, right?
Yep.
What we never focus on Janet Van Dyne, like she's a victim of domestic abuse. We've never ever focused on how she is where she's at now, right? So I think it'll be really interesting to see her go through her own healing process at the same time mentoring someone like Kamala, right?
I think that'd be really, really cool. I think both Wasp are really good, and I think like Janet, I want to see from that like someone being abused and all that stuff section, and then I'd be like, Hope would be like the more young and like can relate to her more. So it's like they're both really, really good picks, and I feel like their powers of like shrinking and stuff is really, really good, and they're female, which is the only reason I would pick them over Scott Lang or somebody like
Yeah,
that, right? I feel like they could better relate to her, and I think that would be really
yeah,
interesting.
Scott
So
has his own daughter, right? It's not gonna be.
yeah, he has his own daughter and stuff like that. Like I don't, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Who? So that my next one. I mean, I don't. You know what? Go ahead and share your next one, because I'll just share it. I was thinking someone like it's basic, and I don't know why, but like either Captain America or Wolverine. But I feel like it's so basic, like it doesn't add to them. It's literally just a way of making money, right?
Yeah, yeah,
The reason I say Captain America Steve Rogers is because he's like the pinnacle of Americanism, and till this day, Muslims are seen
mm-hmm.
as like un-American, especially post 9/11, right?
Yep,
So it's like it'll be interesting how like he talks to her and lets her know like, no, you are American, right?
yeah,
That,
yeah.
but I don't see her doing anything for him, right? That,
Yeah, yeah.
that's why.
Same thing with Wolverine. Like I feel like they've already teamed up in the comics
Um,
with Wolverine and Miss Marvel, and it was a good comic, and I love it. Like they have a good back and forth. Like you could
yeah,
see them having like a really good like, oh, she's like this little fangirl that's super crazy and super fun, and he's like this grumpy old man, and
yeah.
he begins to have like real affection for her and really like her and really see her as like this young kid that she really likes, but like I don't see Wolverine learning about Islam. I don't see Wolverine doing any of that stuff, right? It's not something I would see him do.
When he first started, his first mentee was Kitty Pryde, right? He
Yeah,
did a lot of Buddhism. He taught her Buddhism, right? So like when we were talking about Catholicism or what the Wakandan religion or Judaism, Wolverine could interact with her with his Buddhism, right? But
yeah,
the
yeah,
reason I hesitate with Wolverine is, I'm just gonna say it, he has way too many young girls as mentees. He had
yeah.
Titus first, Jubilee. He has Rogue, and by the way, he
Yep.
kissed Rogue. Like after Rogue was older, and she's no.
Yeah, yeah.
When Rogue was the leader of an X-Men team, he had feelings.
Yep.
So that's why I feel like they need to stop with the Wolverine mentoring young girls. So I'm glad they gave him like 4 daughters. Like he legit has 4 daughters now that he has to mentor.
Yep.
I'm like, thank you, because it's getting super creepy before. Um,
Yep.
and it's always the same things like, I don't like you, Hope. I don't like you. Like, he also mentored Hope, Hope Summers. He's like, I don't like you, Kitty Pryde. I don't like you, Jubilee. And then he ends up being
Yep.
a father figure, right? And the Rogue
Yep.
thing is super. That was super weird. It was and that's why I don't want Professor X, right? Professor X,
Yep.
Jean Grey, that whole thing was, no.
No, I'm
So,
not. I'm not a
yeah,
big like Professor X or like I just don't. Professor X is so problematic. So is Cyclops. They're
yeah,
both super problematic. They're not one of
yeah.
my top picks.
What's like,
But one that I do like,
yeah.
which is super popular right now. I don't know if you're finished. Were you finished with Wolverine?
No, it's fine. Just tell me.
Okay, Shang-Chi. Like he
Oh,
just came out.
mm,
Movie's amazing. And like honestly, it's the closest thing that we have for somebody to have two different cultures, right? Being
yeah,
born in America and then having the Chinese culture.
yeah,
Like it goes so well with like Kamala Khan. And I could totally see Shang-Chi being an American Chinese person and Kamala Khan being a Pakistani American person. Not only that, Pakistan and China are literally the closest allies to each other, which is kind of funny. So it would be amazing to see them team up. I think that would be one of my favorite things.
yeah.
Also, Asian unity, right? Let's get some Asian unity in here.
I like it, and also like I said, the reason I said Wolverine was because of Buddhism. I don't know Shang Chi's religion, but I'm guessing it's a Far Eastern religion, right?
Yeah,
Not a good term to use. I'm sorry, I just don't. An Eastern religion, I'll say, right? So it'll be interesting to see her interact with that, and like teaching her martial arts with the abilities that she has. She's
yeah.
one of the best hand-to-hand combatants in the Marvel universe. Um,
Like to have Miss Marvel learn all of these like
Yeah.
karate and kung fu and all these special martial arts. Like,
Yeah.
who better to teach her? It
Yeah.
would be amazing. Not only that though, but you know what I would really like, because Shang-Chi does focus on family, right?
Yeah.
And I would, and the way they act with her, like when they go to Aquafina's in the movie, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but they go to their parents' house. The way they treat their parents with such respect and like it's so common in our culture, right?
Yeah.
I would love to see that. Be like, oh, Kamala goes visit his grandparents and be like, yeah, I am just as respectful to my parents. We also take off our shoes when we go into the house, right? We also do this. We also do that. It would be so awesome. I would love to see that
Like,
unity.
a lot of times, like being Desi growing up in a predominantly white area, it's like, oh, my family's weird. Like, we do all these respectful things and white people don't. For her to see, oh,
Yep.
Shang-Chi, who's much older than I am, does all this, I think it would be really interesting to see that. That's a really good point. Like, I did not think, and now that I'm thinking about it,
And you know what would be really funny?
yeah,
I would love to see them go to White Castle. I'm
yeah,
just saying it. She lived in New Jersey. Shang-Chi's in New York. Or he's in San Francisco, but he can come to New York.
yeah,
They can go to White Castle and be Harold and
yeah,
Kumar all over again.
yeah.
I would love to see a storyline where they go to White Castle and they fight people along the way, and then they finally get to White Castle. I'm telling you, Shang-Chi, Kamala Khan, go to White Castle. Best movie ever.
I would say when it comes to abilities, he's the best trainer. Because Shang-Chi is weird in the sense that, unlike Wolverine, who teaches you, like he taught Kitty Pryde martial arts, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
um, Captain America teaching Hawkeye hand-to-hand combat, right? What Shang-Chi
Yep.
does is train people in what they're good at. So, like, he actually trained Spider-Man on how to fight like the way of
Yep.
a fighter. He made a martial
Yep.
art just for Spider-Man.
Based on the spider.
Yeah,
Yep.
and Spider-Man lost his spider sense, and he's like, "You
Mm-hmm.
lost your spider sense? No problem, I got you."
Yep.
He,
Yep.
so Shang-Chi has Shang-Chi. I always say his name wrong, so forgive me, everybody. He has this amazing
Yeah.
ability
Young
that
Sheep.
not only can he fight, he'll look at somebody. He's like, "Okay, you need to learn how to fight this way, right?" And
Yep.
I would love to see how writers act like what he does with Ms. Marvel. That's amazing. I like that. I like that.
I really like that. I don't have any more, but I have some in the comments. If you want to talk about some other
Yeah,
people's
sure. I have
picks,
one more.
there's okay, sure.
I have one more. Complete controversial, just for the pure punch for it. Emma Frost, because Emma Frost, the way she was raised is completely non-Muslim, right? Like complete. She is
Yeah,
disrespectful
yeah.
to her parents. If you read about her growing up, she hated her parents. She ran away from home. She dresses like a
She
dom,
dresses very provocatively.
very
Yeah,
provocatively, right?
it is not
It's
modest.
She's the complete opposite of what a Muslim family would want their daughter to be mentored by, right? So
Yeah,
it'll be interesting, like, because till this day, Emma Frost is that mentor who's like very like cold to her students. I think if she
yep,
gets like a Muslim student, she'll be warmer and kinder. And she also, the reason why she is the way she is, she's been through a lot of trauma. I think
sure.
Kamala Khan being Kamala Khan will change her. That's what I'm saying. Um, it is one of my most controversial picks. I think it'll be interesting to see how Kamala's parents react to Emma Frost. That'll be awesome.
Oh yeah. Trust me, man. If you have a friend that comes in dressed like that, your parents are like, "Oh, it's gonna be a bad influence on you."
Yeah. So what are your comments saying?
So I got a few. The Cosmic Girl and a few other people are saying. Let me see. What do you think about Nebula or Gamora?
Nebula Gamora. That's interesting. I mean, they could definitely teach her how to fight. Um,
Yeah,
both had issues with
I could.
father.
I would pick. I would pick Gamora over Nebula because I feel like Nebula is definitely a little bit more on the evil side. But like Gamora is like an assassin, right? And like Kamala to have those skills,
Yeah.
that like she was not going to be an assassin, but to have those skills would be super solid.
I would also say she has dad issues, right? Like a lot of Desi
Yep.
girls have issues with a lot of brown girls have issues with the dad, and Gamora literally has a lot of issues with her dad, right? So I think
Yeah, that's my only issue with the new run, the G Willow Wilson run. The dad was amazing. Like he was super supportive, and then when they switched over to what's the other guy's name? Salah. they basically made the dad more of a typical dad,
Uh,
super angry and like upset about a daughter going out and doing
yeah,
all that stuff. Whereas the G Willow Wilson had him more supportive and more understanding of her being out all the time, which is one of the things that changed in the new run. But like I could see that. I could see her having issues with her dad and stuff like that now with the new run.
yeah. I know DC Comics. You also said as some DC guys. I was thinking Green Lantern Jessica Cruz. Only because Jessica Cruz's best friend is Simon Baz, who's Muslim, and
Yes,
suffered major, what do you call it?
anxiety
Anxiety.
and PTSD. Yeah,
Yeah, and Simon Baz, the Muslim guy, had to teach her, like, who hated her at first, had to teach her, like, you need to get out of your room, and he would do, like, such kind things for her, right? So, like, she kind of
yeah,
definitely knows about Islam, and she could
yep,
actually, like growing up, one of the people who had most effects on me Islamically were my non-Muslim mentors who would be like, "Why aren't you praying? Your parents want you praying. You should be praying because you come to be Muslim. Go pray, right?" I feel like,
yeah. I got my own friends that make sure like, hey, make sure that's halal. I'm like, oh damn it, and then I gotta go check the ingredients.
exactly. It's like,
They keep me in check.
yeah, I remember my friend. She was telling me that her three kids were being babysat by the neighbor who's very good friends with them, right? And
Yeah, yeah,
her two young kids went to pray, and her oldest kid was like, "No, I don't want to pray." And their neighbor was like, "If your parents were here, would you be praying?" And her eldest son was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Yeah, I don't care. You're gonna go pray right now, right?" Because Jessica Cruz is so
yeah,
close to Simon Baz. Now, I think
yeah.
the best platonic friendship between a guy and girl is Simon Baz and Jessica Cruz, right?
They're going to be in the new show, by the way. I think they're already mentioned. They're going to be in the new Green Lantern show.
Oh, really? Okay, okay, good.
Yeah, Simon Bass has been confirmed to be in the
Yeah.
new Green Lantern show on HBO.
Okay, I love them. So I would love to see
Yeah,
if Jessica Cruz, if they have a DC Marvel crossover, I would love to see Jessica Cruz also being a brown girl, um,
yeah.
be a mentor to Kamala. Uh,
So if I got to pick a DC person, I'm going to go with Zari from Legends of Tomorrow. I don't know if you ever
uh,
watched that show,
yes,
but she is such a great representation of Muslim. There's two versions of her. There's like a
yeah,
influencer version, and there's like a more modest, like respectful version
yeah,
who's like prays in a time machine and
yeah,
like talks about like Islam all the time and how it affects her. She'll say like Alhamdulillah. She'll like turn. They'll literally write in her being offered alcohol so she can turn it down, right? So
yeah.
it's really really inclusive show, and like I think her being like such a big force of like in the DC world now. She's probably the most popular Muslim superhero in DC after that show came out. And I think she would be a great mentor. And not only that, I'd love to see Kamala do some time traveling. I think that would be really cool.
That would be cool. That also gives like that also being my background. I'm like, what's the fick of time traveling, right? I would
Yeah,
probably go right the fick of time traveling. And yeah, what is Maghrib time while you're in the time ship? And what? Oh,
exactly, right?
like, there's so much there. There is so much
It's
there.
it's not only that, how do you pray in the direction of Mecca in a time
Oh
machine?
man, it's so much there. It's so much there.
There's so much there. It's
If she
it's
does,
pretty it's pretty funny.
hold on, if she does time travel, and this is getting blasphemous too. If she does time travel, and let's say she meets the Prophet, does that make her a Sahaba? Like
I'm not going there, man.
okay,
I'm not going
we're
there.
not going there.
I'm not.
Go ahead.
I still. The last thing I want is Muslim TikTok after me.
Who
I will
else
not go there.
is that in the audience? Let's let the audience like pick names. Um,
I try to keep it as. I don't know. That'd be
I mean,
weird.
it's an intro.
But
I'm just saying, if Salahuddin Ahmed and G. Willow Wilson do a time traveling story, they gotta talk about that. Okay, there's no way they could leave that out. That is all.
that'd be interesting. I don't know how they would get away with it. it'd be wild. But I could definitely see her in some historical situations, right? Like what if she went back to the partition? Right? How amazing would a story like that be? It would be so heart wrenching
Ouch.
from both sides to see what happened, right? And her to try to save people. Also, the partition is a big part of her story. Actually, in fact, the gauntlet that she wears, the little bracelet that she wears, is actually her mom takes it from India as they're partitioning to Pakistan. It's
Yeah.
actually a big part of her story, and for her to go back in time and meet her grandparents, which I think like they get her bracelet first, and her bracelet is special. So I think some time traveling during the partition would be amazing.
That'll be
That'd be a great story. Also, it'll teach people who don't know about the partition about
yeah.
how bloody it was and how awful it
It
was, and
was.
like why it had to happen.
It was what, like, up until recently, up until Syria and what's happening today. I think that was the largest land diaspora ever in history.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Up until very recently. Yeah. So who are like some people mentioning? Because who are some people mentioning? Is anyone in your audience mentioning like names of superheroes?
Yeah, I got Loki. Someone's mentioning Loki because Loki's in the comics. I don't think Loki would be a good mentor.
Yeah,
He's
Loki.
he definitely
Uh,
definitely embodies the what is it, the god of mischief, and
yeah,
I think Kamala gets into enough mischief. I don't think that'll be good. Or Sylvie. I don't know how Sylvie would be.
yeah.
I don't really see them. But what about Yelena from Black Widow?
Black.
Having a Black Widow be trained by her, mentor her.
Yeah, in the comics. See, the thing is, the last time I read her in the comics, she died in what do you call it? In New Avengers, right? Which is
Mm-hmm.
you know how old I am and how long I've not been reading comics. Um, Black Widow. I don't know. The thing is, she never gave me mentor vibes, right? There's some people like
Mm-hmm.
Cloak. Yeah, Loki, like Tyler just said, Loki needs a mentor, right? I feel
Yeah.
like with Black Widow, I don't think she's a teaching type. Like Storm has a history of teaching. Cloak
Yep.
and Matt Murdock, they like Matt Murdock has interacted with Spider-Man. Cloak has been a teenage superhero. Spider-Man has been a teenage superhero, right?
Yep.
Like Black Widows, they've been like put into a room, brainwashed, and made into assassins, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's their story in the Red Room and stuff.
Yep.
So like, they got, I hate to say it, they got way too much trauma to be mentors, right? At that point,
Yep.
if they came to me as a parent and wanted to babysit my kids, I would not let them, right? That's what I'm. That's how I'm going to answer that.
Mm.
Oh
You know what the DC superhero? I wouldn't say superhero, but a DC hero
yeah.
that Kamala would be great with.
No.
And this is canon. This person has saved the entire DC universe.
Mm-hmm.
This is canon.
Yeah.
Is Muhammad Ali.
Yes. Okay. Fair.
Muhammad Ali has literally saved the DC universe.
It is
and the way he did it was there was a boxing match between Superman and Muhammad Ali under a red sun, and Muhammad Ali beat Superman in order to save the world.
Yes. I do. Okay, you know what? Yes. And one of the things Muhammad Ali did was, I know a lot of us, people of color, BIPOC people have, and this goes back to why this conversation ever started. The reason she liked Carol Danvers was because of European beauty standards. And one thing Ali did when he was traveling the world and talking trash, he would say, I'm beautiful, right?
Mm-hmm.
In those days, dark skin and just the typical look of black people was considered ugly. And Muhammad Ali made it okay for black people specifically, but now I'm going to say it's an example that we all could use because we all have this European beauty standards in our mind that we're all beautiful. And that we need to take an example that I'm beautiful, right? And like I've learned that from him, and I think I don't know if she does. The reason she liked Carol was because she was blonde hair, blue eyes. I think to fix that Carol issue, she needs Muhammad Ali to be a mentor. I will take that.
I would love that, right? Like Muhammad Ali and Kamala Khan, and then him. The whole thing about like him making the world accept how like beautiful black skin is, brown skin is, like that would be amazing. And yeah, you're right, man. The main reason she became Carol Danvers is because she has these like doubts and insecurities about her because her best friend forgot her name. is like this cool popular girl in school,
Yeah.
and she's like, I wish I could be like her and like not have my brown skin. So when she becomes a superhero, she literally turns into Carol Danvers, right? So it's
Yeah.
very interesting. I wonder if that's what they're going to do on the show, because Brie Larson is on the show, and I don't know if she's going to be actually on the show as herself, or they're going to show her transform into Brie Larson.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Interesting. I would what is it? Brie Larson is playing herself on the show?
We don't know, but she is cast,
Oh,
so she
okay.
is going to be on the show. And if we don't know. It could even be a flashback for all we know, right? So it doesn't. We don't really know what she's playing. But my guess is Kamala turns into Captain Marvel because that's such a big part of like her getting comfortable in her own skin. I hope they go ahead and do that.
Yeah,
So
I
I am.
personally, I'm just gonna disagree. Personally, I do want Monica becoming Captain Marvel because I think it was a great miss on Marvel's part, especially after the Black Lantern movie, to give Captain Marvel to
Wait, what do you mean Black Lantern?
no after the Black Panther movie. I'm sorry, Black Panther.
Black Panther. Oh, okay. I thought you said Black Lantern. Okay.
It was a big like mistake on Marvel's part to make Captain Marvel. I understand they didn't want Captain Marvel being the original Marvel, right? The alien,
Yeah.
the white guy with the blonde hair. But the very second Captain Marvel is a black woman. Why would you
Yep.
skip her over? And Carol Danvers is what, the fifth Captain Marvel we have?
Mm-hmm.
She's not one of the first. She's the current,
Yeah.
but she's not one of the first. She's been Miss Marvel for as long as I've been alive. I have known her as Miss Marvel, right? Up
Yeah.
recently, Carol Danvers. That's why I have to keep calling Carol Danvers. I think that's the reason I want Monica to get that name is because, especially after Black Panther, the success of Black Panther, the success of Shang-Chi, I understand Muslims want our own cool superhero, but I feel like black women got, you know, got passed up on when it came to Miss Marvel. I mean,
So the thing is, like, I'm hopeful, right? Because I do feel like there's a lot. If you watch WandaVision, there is a lot of resentment on Monica's behalf towards Carol, right?
yeah.
And I feel like they are building up to a civil war too, which is going to be Monica and Carol. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm feeling when I watch this. Because if you go back and watch the original Marvel movies, they slowly plant the seed of Tony and Cap just butting heads over time. Yeah. And I see them doing the same exact thing that with Captain Marvel and Monica. And there's so much stuff that's unsaid, but you can tell by the way she looks, how she avoids subjects, how she doesn't want to talk about something. Like, it really, really resonates that they're building to something big. I do think that it's going to be a Carol versus Monica thing, and we'll see where it goes. But I would love to see that.
I would love to see that, especially because Monica's friends with Black Panther, Blue Marvel. Also, one of the things I really hate about Carol was during Civil War I when she was still Miss Marvel, wearing the leotard and the yellow.
Yeah.
She went to
the haram outfit.
She went to the X-Men school, and this is why, as much as people hate Emma Frost, I will always die on this hill for Emma Frost. I'll always be loyal and defend Emma Frost. She went to the X-Men and had the audacity to tell the X-Men to register when they're like, no, the Superhero Registration Act is not any different than the Mutant Registration Act, and we will not register. It's the same thing. And Carol's like, oh, you don't care about people, these kids dying in the Sanford school? Because for those of you who don't know, Civil War I started because a school in Sanford blew up, and I forget what team of superheroes. A team of
it was like an inexperienced young team of superheroes.
That messed up, so they were getting all the superheroes registered. And X-Men were like, no, because it's the same exact thing as the Mutant Registration Act. And Cal Denver was like, you don't care about the school in Sanford? And the thing is, Civil War happened. It was the event right after House of M. And after House of M, what happened? Everyone lost their powers, and the Xavier School was attacked. They lost 4 buses filled with children. Their school was, so they lost 4 buses filled with children. Their school was then invaded, and more children died. And Emma Frost said, like, you didn't give a shit about children in schools when our children died and our school was attacked, where 4 buses blew up, not a single Avenger came. And you have the audacity to come to me now because some school in white America got some rich school. Emma Frost being a rich white girl, also some school in Sanford got blown up, right? And she did this, because Emma Frost is a telepath like Professor X. She made her feel the pain that all the other teachers felt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Cal Danvers got pissed, but she's like, we were actual teachers who lost students. You're just a superhero on the outside, and you have the audacity to say we don't care about kids. And I think that was
Yep.
the most powerful moment. And at that part, I understand Emma Frost is a white girl, but that's one white girl I'll ride for. I'm like, you know what? She's one of us. She put that chick on, she put Cal Danvers in check, and I'll ride for her, right? And
Yeah, yeah.
as a Muslim parent, if Emma Frost was real, I'll be like, I don't know about how you dress him, but you know what? I still trust you. That's what's up.
Yeah.
Then,
No, it's actually it's reflective on society, right? Because people don't care about what happens in these, like, like right now. What's that white girl that got kidnapped?
oh
I
man,
don't know, but it's all over the news right
it's
now,
all over the news. Yeah,
and basically everyone's saying like black women get kidnapped all the time and nobody says anything, but it happens to a pretty white girl and it's like all over the news. It's on social media. People are making podcasts about it. People are making TikToks about it.
exactly.
Everyone's talking about it, right?
Yeah,
And like, our people get kidnapped all the time. There's girls in Afghanistan getting kidnapped all the time. There's black women here, they get kidnapped all the time. Asian women get kidnapped all the time, right? Like people get trafficked
yeah,
and like no one cares. But when it happens to a white girl,
yeah,
then
exactly.
yeah, it's all over the news.
Dang, yo, this conversation got deep. I wasn't expecting to get. Thank you. Sorry, I had low power.
Did you freeze?
My
Oh,
my
too
uh, my battery needs to charge. But like, thank you. That's the last thing I have to say about everything. Thank you so much for having
Yeah,
this
man, this was
conversation with
fun,
me.
man.
I
Let's
enjoyed this topic, man. I enjoyed it. I did not know it was gonna get this deep. There's a lot of like people say, oh, comic books are for kids. There's a lot of deep topics in comic book, and I'm telling
There
people of
is,
color
man. There
to
is.
enter fiction. You have to engage with the culture because then the culture will
Yeah.
never see you. And a lot of people's what do you call it? Vision of us is through what they consume in mass media and culture. Mass media is culture. Let's just
Yep.
face it. So
Yep.
I think we need more
Perception is
diversity in the
what
writers.
is the only thing we can control, right? We have to try to see if we can change
Yeah.
the way perception is made about us. And it's true. And the good thing is, like, you guys got to read the comics and stuff and not just the MCU movies, because the movies are controlled by the military industrial complex and all that stuff. And they got to put their agendas in. The comic books do not, right? So they can go after the governments and stuff like that
Yeah.
a little bit more.
And
And a lot of people say that, like, oh, but they make the government look incompetent, and they make the military look incompetent. The superheroes have to save everybody. That's the point. They want you to think the government's incompetent, so when they do fucked up shit, you're like, oh, well, the government's incompetent.
yeah.
Like, that's part
Also,
of the agenda.
actually, that was part of like I put a video up about how the MCU started, and they're like, yeah. Someone said, yeah, but MCU is military propaganda, and someone said how. I'm like, it's also if you look at it, the military-industrial complex wants to hire mercenaries, right? They want to hire Blackwater or Z, whatever the hell they want to call it nowadays, right?
Yep.
What do you think the Avengers are? They're a mercenary group, right? That don't
Yeah.
that have no what do you call it?
Jurisdiction or regulation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they don't have to answer to anybody. So yeah, a lot of people don't realize that. And as far as engaging with the culture, I know we rag on Netflix about their portrayal of Muslims, but the thing is to fix that is not to stop your Netflix what do you call it, subscription or don't watch Netflix shows. Is go get jobs as writers for Netflix shows, and they need us to tell them,
Yep.
yo, this is stupid. No one's gonna break their fast with alcohol. That doesn't work. Stop that, right? They need consultants
like they need somebody back there to tell them, like, that's not how you wear a hijab. That's not how you pray.
Yeah.
Like it's just the smallest thing. Like honestly, I don't think they should have Muslim characters be played by non-Muslim actors simply for that reason, because they need somebody to tell their dumb asses, like, no, a Muslim wouldn't do this. Like at the very least.
Yeah, we need consultants in comics. And the cool thing is, Marvel Comics, and I did this video, The Blind React, about Stan Lee. Stan Lee made it a point that Marvel will always be a reflection on the world you see outside your window. And
Yep.
Marvel, more so than DC, Marvel has done a great job. And that's why Muslim
Yes.
representation, BIPOC representation at Marvel is so much better than DC. And I give full
You know
credit
what's really interesting?
to the late Stan.
One of the last characters that Stan Lee talked about was actually Miss Marvel and how
Oh,
happy he was with the character.
nice. That's oh man, I'm gonna get we gotta end this. My battery's running low. I'm gonna get emotional, so I can't. All
All
right, man. Thanks so much. Thank you, everybody.
right, man. I'll catch you later.
See you.
All right, this was good talk.
All right.